Welcome to the Harnessing Happiness podcast. Upbeat vibes generated and transferred to you. Now here's your host, Sarah J Naylor.
Hello and welcome to Harnessing Happiness with myself, Sarah J Naylor. Thank you, as always, for stopping on by and taking time to listen to my podcast. I really appreciate you doing so. Today, I have with me Steve Picker. You'll be saying, who's Steve Picker? Well, I'm going to hand over to Steve so he can introduce himself fully, because obviously he knows himself far better than I do. So over to you, Steve. Please do introduce yourself to my fabulous listeners.
Hello, Sarah. Thank you for having me on today. And as you know, I do know myself quite well. I'd like to think I do anyway. But yes, my name is Steve. I'm 37 years old. I think we did this last time, didn't we?
We did. I have a disclaimer here, actually. We have already recorded a podcast. But what happened was I had tech issues at my end, and good old podcast Pete, he said to me, we can't send that out, Sarah, it needs to sound professional, so we are re-recording, and this time we're actually doing it in person rather than virtually, so it's good to actually meet Steve, myself, in person. So anyway, carry on introducing yourself.
So yeah, I'm Steve, and I'm 37 years old, and I hail from Culverts in Leicestershire. Sounds like I'm on Stars in My Eyes or something, actually. Tonight, Matthew. So I've got this YouTube channel called Let's Explore, where I go gallivanting all over the shop, sticking my nose in here, there and everywhere, sometimes where it shouldn't be wanted. I have a good time whilst I'm doing it as well.
Yes, you sort of really got into running, haven't you, over the last 6 months, 8 months now?
Yeah, into the running as well, really enjoying it. Absolutely fantastic. Best thing I've ever done.
Do share the story, Steve. I mean, obviously you've got your YouTube channel, and I'd really like you to share with the listeners exactly what that involves and what it is that you do on there. But equally so, how that sort of has then led to you sort of getting into running and where you were at. Do share your story.
Well, the long and short of it is, once upon a time I was very fat. Putting it mildly, 23 and a half stone, maybe just a tad over. So for many, many years, like I say, I'm 37 now, but throughout my 20s, it was just, it wasn't a great time, stuck in a rut for many, many years. Really, and if I'm being honest with you, I probably struggled a little bit with mental health as well, which you do, I think, when you're very overweight. But a few years ago, after many, many failed attempts at trying to get this weight off, I'm finally actually getting somewhere with it now. And the long and short of it is, I used to watch these videos of people exploring various places, and I really enjoyed it. And that's what I liked to do anyway when I was younger. Mm-hmm. And I thought, well, I wouldn't mind doing that, walking about, recording myself, talking daft. So I thought, once I got a bit of weight off, I started doing it, and then of course I was doing the running. I started running, which is something, if you'd have told me a few years ago, you'll be doing half marathons soon and what have you, I'd have said, no way, on your bike, son, do you know what I mean? But met our mutual friend Rob Beers through making these videos on my YouTube channel, because he got in touch with me one day, as he does, with a photograph of a culvert.
Yes, yes, we need to talk culverts and all things industrial.
Yeah, that's the one. And he said to me, he says, you want to pack that tarmac slapping in. He says, come out and do some trail runs. And initially I thought, well, I like the idea of this trail running, but I've got a bit of a problem with my ankle. I don't want to roll it. But anyway, I went out and did it, and I thought, I really enjoy this. And I've just kept it going just ever since, really. It's been the best thing I've ever done. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's great. Isn't it? Getting out on the trails is so different to actually running around on tarmac. The phrase tarmac slapping has come from our mutual friend Rob. He has, well, in fact, if you have been listening to my podcast, there is one I have recorded previously with Rob Beers, and you will hear some of the Robisms, and tarmac slapping is one of them, and it's just great. I mean, I did actually do a tarmac slapping run yesterday, and it was quite nice, just for a quick run, sort of half an hour and 40 minutes before work, but actually getting out on the trails and embracing nature and the fresh air and sort of trees and culverts. It's great. In fact, since meeting Rob, we're ever looking for culverts too. It becomes a bit addictive. But that's sort of part of what you do on the YouTube side, isn't it? I mean, it's not just culverts, but it would be great if you could explain to the listeners what a culvert is, but also what prompted your interest in what you do on YouTube. Yes, you said about exploring, but how that came about and what it is you're interested in and what fascinates you.
Well, it's funny really, because Tuesday this week I went for a walk with my other half, Vanessa, and we went over to Shepshed, which is where I grew up. And there's a culvert there that goes beneath the M1 and it carries the Black Brook underneath. It's massive. It's massive. It's really big.
Oh, wow.
And I used to go fishing in there when I was a kid, and looking Tuesday night, I could still see trout swimming about in the clear water. It's made me want to go down there again and do a bit of fishing. But, I went through it when I was 14 years of age, and I don't know, just for some bizarre reason, I've always had a fascination with them. Anything that carries water. And as you say, what is a culvert? Well, a culvert is a means of getting water from A to B. So for argument's sake, if you're going to build a big motorway and there's a water course there, a river or a stream, it's got to go somewhere.
Yep.
We can't dam it off, because Noah and his ark will be coming out. So that's what a culvert does.
But is that different to a bridge, though? I mean, a culvert and a bridge, because they almost sound like they're a similar thing.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, you're right there. I never really thought of it that way. Yeah.
But a culvert is smaller than a bridge, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes bridges ain't even that big, are they?
No, that's true.
I suppose, but I'm not really explaining that very well. I'm supposed to know all this stuff, aren't I?
I was just curious.
It's a good question, but the fascination with them, I don't know, I think some people, for me, a lot of people say to me that watch my videos, and some people that don't, that probably find it boring, I will just say to the listeners now that it's not all about culverts on my channel.
No, but this is one element. We're just explaining culverts at the moment.
Just one element of it. But a lot of people say, Steve, what's the big dealio with a culvert? And, for me, I love all the really old industrial stuff like canals and railways. So for me, when I'm going to a site that's 220 years old and there's an old, red engineering brick-built culvert there taking a brook underneath a canal embankment or a railway embankment, it's still doing its job in 2022.
Yes,
but yet the job I do that entails laying drainage, if you like, we're replacing stuff that's 5 or 6 years old sometimes.
Good grief.
So that's
amazing.
And the workmanship that went into build, I mean, they didn't have precast concrete pipes 222 years ago. It was all with these bricks or stones, and that's another part of the fascination, not just the structures themselves, but the men that built them.
Yeah, the history and the social history and everything around that. I mean, with you just talking about the brick built, I just had a vision suddenly of the canal structure when you go on underneath, an old canal bridge, and the brickwork that's put in place, and it's still there today. It's been laid in such a way in an arch above the water, and it's still there.
And that's it. That's the fascination with it, if I'm being honest. And I think a lot of people don't always get it, but I don't know. It's one of those things. It all stems from my dad coming home one day, and long story short, where we lived at Shepshed, we had a canal that kind of went by the town. I mean, back in those days, in 1794, it would have been 2 miles from the village centre back then.
Oh, wow.
So, that's how much Shepshed's expanded. And my dad come home, and these ramps, this dip that I'd been riding my mountain bike up and down near the old railway line, we'd not realised it was a canal. And my dad come home all excited. Yeah, I've just found out about this canal near the old railway, and boring my mum to death with it, God bless her. And in truth, I was being a typical teenager, probably thinking, oh yeah, whatever, Dad, right. But really thinking, yeah, that's really interesting, that is. And that's where the fascination comes from, with the industrial stuff anyway. And I think I was 16 then, 15 or 16, so...
But it wasn't, you didn't sort of pick up on it immediately, though?
No, it's kind of one of those gradual things. And I mean, through my 20s, like I say, I wasn't going out looking at this stuff as much, because I was in a deep rut with my blooming weight issues and what have you, and I didn't want to really go that far. But now, especially now we're making these videos, we're here, there and everywhere, all over the Ocker. So it's look at sometimes probably trespassing and going where you shouldn't be going.
You mean you've got lost en route? You mean, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, but we've got lost.
And whilst you're getting lost, you found all these fascinating places. As I say, we've referenced the fact that this, because there were some technical issues on my side, this is the second time we're recording. But when we recorded before, you were telling me about the maps that you've managed to get hold of, or are generally available. Is it somewhere in Scotland, did you say, or something like that? And
yeah, so, for all the years I've been interested in this stuff, I didn't know that there was a facility online known as the National Library of Scotland, and it's free to use, and you can look at maps that, I think the oldest maps on there are from the 1870s. I've not found them that old in my area. That usually tend to be the early 1880s. But you can run them next to modern kind of Google Earth images, and you can still see if like there's a building still there, and etc. It's an amazing facility. And when I started making these videos, somebody got in touch with me and said, here's a link to some maps that you might be interested in.
Yeah.
I looked at it and I thought, I can't believe I've spent years really interested in this stuff, and I never knew that these maps online existed and free to use as well.
That's amazing. I mean, I started my life out in cartography. I actually worked as a cartographer back in the day, but that was when geologists went out and they actually were surveying the land and putting all the boreholes in and what the earth was made of and what it was all. So I used to do all the geologist side of things, but it used to fascinate me with the maps and things like that and the detail that are on the Ordnance Survey maps. I mean, and that's what I was going to ask you. Are they Ordnance Survey maps, or are they other maps, or are they, it's just
there are plenty of other maps to use, but I mean I mainly use Ordnance Survey. The one's online, and if we're sat in my living room now, I've got like a little table here like this one that's got a load of modern day maps on it. So it's like a little library of all over the country, well, all over the Midlands actually, because of course if you're going to go for a nosy, as I call it, in my Colvillian dialect there, if you're going to go for a nosy, you need a map wheel.
map weir.
Yeah, map weir. Yeah.
You see, a weir is another thing altogether, isn't it? In some places.
A weir is. Yes.
Indeed. In fact, not to be embraced because weirs are very dangerous.
They are very dangerous, but I still I have walked across them before, but won't talk about that.
No. Are weirs, are they old or are they quite a modern?
They are built in the modern era, but that's another thing that really interests me as well. Water mills.
Oh, yeah.
I'm really interested in the really old water mills. And, when they built mills on rivers, there'd be a weir there, because if there was a shallow river and they thought, right, I want to stick a mill there, what they'd do, they'd build a weir to build a head of water up. So if the water's down here, you build a weir wall X high, and that water builds up behind it, so they can then take a channel round to the water wheel and power the mill. You see, you learn something new every day.
Indeed, every day is a school day, as they say.
Yes, it certainly is.
So how long is it since you started doing all the videos then on YouTube, and how many have you recorded now, and how do people find them?
So I think we're on 87 videos now.
Wow.
And I've just reached 1,000 subscribers. Woohoo! So I'm on 1,030 something subs now.
That's brilliant.
It is. I ain't done bad saying I've not paid for any contract.
No, so it's all been organic.
Yeah, it's all been well.
It's flowed like the water, Steve.
It has. Yes, there hasn't. Yes, there's not been a weir there in the way.
No.
So yes, I've been doing it since I think it was August or September 2020.
Oh, wow. So that's not really that long to have built up that many videos.
No, it's for the sort of stuff I'm doing. And it's got better as well. I feel like my presenting's got better. It's got a hell of a lot better since I started using a wireless microphone. That's changed the game now.
Well, I suppose running around with a long cable plugged into your car might have been a bit difficult.
Yeah, exactly. Very difficult. Yeah. So, and plus tripping over it and what have you.
Yeah.
So, no, but yeah, that's changed things. And not only that, I just love doing it.
Yeah.
This podcast of yours, it's called Harnessing Happiness, and that's what you got to do in life. Just do what you enjoy. I mean, years ago when I was down on me luck and stuck in a bloody rut and all that, I wouldn't have dreamt of doing something like that. But you can't live your life saying no. You've got to start saying yes. Not like Jim Carrey on that film Yes Man, because you'll end up with one of them Prussian wives or something like that. But you've got to be sensible.
You have to be mindful with your yeses.
You have, yeah. But you've got to start embracing,
exactly.
It's like our mutual friend Rob Beers. I don't want to give him too much airtime because this is my podcast, not his. He said to me, invited me out on a social trail run. And I was thinking, the first one I did, I thought, I can't do 10 miles. And he says to me, well, if you're not BSing me and you tell me you can do just under 7 miles, he says, you'll easily do 10. I thought, easily? What planet's this bloke on? Do you know what I'm saying? So I went out, did this run not far from where I live, actually, around Charmwood Forest, up around the outskirts of Colville there, between there and Shepshed. I couldn't believe it. And I thought, this is really good. This is being out with people. You feel like it motivates you more. I mean, I do now and again run 10 miles on my own. But it's very hard on your own. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes I think, whoopie-do, I'm really in the mood for that today. But it really did something for me going out and doing that. And it makes you happy.
It does. Absolutely. You have to follow your passions. You have to align with what floats your boat. And if you don't, that's when you start to feel down and you find yourself doing. And this is true for work. It's for life. What does fire you up? What does make your heart sing? Embracing it, stepping out into it. Don't worry about what other people think.
And that's the key, because we kind of live with this herd mentality of not wanting to step outside of the herd. There's not enough individualism in the world. And I think if there was more individualism and people actually doing what they want to do, and sod them over there, let them look at Instagram all day.
Yeah.
If you just did what you wanted to do, whether it's going and bloody gallivanting about down a culvert, so be it, because you can guarantee there'll be somebody else that loves a culvert.
Oh yeah, well that's it, absolutely. And it is about stepping out. It's about doing your stuff, but people will look at other people and want to sort of emulate them, but they want to emulate them because they're recognizing that they're doing something that they're passionate about. You can't be that person. You have to be yourself. But you can be inspired by other people, and you go, yeah, do you know what? I love doing this. I love running down the street with ribbons tied in my hair, doing hopscotch or whatever it is.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just what makes you happy, and it's about embracing that. And once you start to do that, as you have done, it changes your life, and things sort of start to fall into place because you're out there, you're recording your videos, you've ended up meeting Rob, you're doing trail running, now you're doing podcasts, and all sorts of stuff.
This is where it's at.
Yeah, exactly. But you know what? It spreads out. I mean, I've done loads of stuff I've been doing loads of stuff for a long time, but even just as recent as last year, my network is now global, and the people I've had on my podcast live all over the world.
That's brilliant.
Because I know, but it's because as you said, you say yes, you embrace stuff, you try it, you put yourself out, you invest in yourself, and that's the important thing.
Yeah, and and we've all got to start somewhere. I mean, long story short, like you just said, we can all be inspired. And I was watching this chap from Manchester. His name's Martin Zero. He's got a really big channel now. He's got the best part of 100,000 subscribers. He's doing really well for with it. Things that do really well on YouTube are things like video games and where you got millions of people. But doing this kind of thing, he's doing extremely well at it. And I was in the bath one night watching this video, as I regularly do. And I thought, I'd lost some weight at the time. And I thought, I like what he's doing. I don't want to be him, but I want to be myself.
Yes,
I'm going to have a go at it. And I did it, and the rest is history.
And it's absolutely brilliant. As you say, it's led you to the running, and the story about you sort of starting the running is amazing because as you referenced before, you had put on the weight, you struggled with that, and there's a story behind all of that as well, isn't there?
Well, that's it. And with the actual YouTube channel, I mean, it's brought some fantastic people into my life as well. As you say, Rob Beers.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're name
mentioning him again.
I know. Yeah,
his ears will be burning.
Yeah, there's a beers box, not a swear box. Start putting an imaginary quid in there, I think. But I met him. My mate Dave, aka Delighted Dave, Indie Andy Jones. And
we like that one, Indie Andy Jones.
Yeah, he's always a great bloke. Andy is. My other mate Rob, I actually went out for a run with them both, and both the Robs have both got long ponytails.
Oh, have they? Right.
Rob, our friend Rob's ponytail, I mean, it's like being behind a horse or something. But because of that strong dupe or whatever it is he wears, or that brute, it like fans it towards you, doesn't it? Gives you an headache. And I'm only joking, Robert. You smell lovely, mate. I'm only joking. But yeah, he'll want royalties, won't he? At this rate?
He will.
But yeah, it's brought some great people into my life doing this stuff. When you're sitting on your arse at home all the while, you're not living.
No, exactly.
You're not living. And I wasn't. I took my life for granted for so long and just wasn't doing it. I was just bloody going work every day, drinking too much, eating too much rubbish. Don't get me wrong, I still like a beer and I like a bit of rubbish still, but it's in moderation. And that's the other thing. If there's anybody listening to this that's overweight, unfit, I've been there.
Please do inspire them, Steve.
It don't matter what bloody exercise books you read, or blah blah blah. There's only one sentence that you need to put in a book, and that is eat less, move more.
Yes.
And that's it. That's it. I mean, don't get me wrong. Sometimes I might go a bit OTT throughout the week with what I eat, but I'm still putting in the exercise. And I think I said to you when we actually did the last podcast, the one that we recorded before that didn't work, I said to you that I don't weigh myself. And I don't as a general rule, because I don't want to... it's how you feel in your heart and in your head.
Absolutely.
I feel good at the minute, but when I stayed round my dad's on Saturday night last, they've got this digital weighing scales in the bathroom, and I just went on it. Now, and I'd had a few beers, and I'm not going to lie, my dad cooked some late night sausages and a pie. But I think I was 16 stone 12, and I'd not weighed that much for probably since I was a teenager.
That's amazing.
But I've done this gradually, very slowly. Do you know what, Sarah? I could have lost the weight in a year.
Yeah.
From 23.5 stone at my heaviest. But I think sometimes if I were doing stupid things throughout my life, I'd lose a stone or two, then put it all back on.
Yeah.
Because I was completely changing my diet. I was stopping eating things that I enjoyed eating.
Yeah.
And when you lose so much weight, it's kind of, well, I feel good at the minute. I think I will treat myself and have that pizza I've not had for weeks and weeks.
Yes.
And then it has a domino effect. I think if you just do it when you like, within reason, it helps. But that's me from personal experience. It's not for everybody.
Well, we all do things differently. We experience life differently. We have internal drivers that are different. We learn differently, and we experience the world differently based on the previous experiences that we've already had. And as you say, some techniques work for some people and others that don't. But the diet industry is huge because actually it doesn't work. And it is about, like you said, eating less, moving more, but actually changing the way you eat gradually, not in one big rush, because actually when you do that, quite rightly, you think, oh, well, I've lost that weight, I can treat myself. Then you fall back into those patterns of behaviour because they are patterns of behaviour, and patterns of behaviour are far easier in life to fall into, but it's about creating new neural linguistic programming and patterns.
Exactly.
And you have to do that consistently over a period of at least 30 days, if not sort of 3 months, just to really embed it and that to become your norm.
And that's the key as well. And, I've said this a lot of times to people, because people will say, I mean, for me, I'm in this body 24/7. Well, at least I think I am anyway. I don't know what I'm doing when I'm asleep, but where I go then. But
you're investigating architecture, culverts, and water flowing all over the world, perhaps.
Yeah. I don't have nightmares. I have culvert mares. But it doesn't matter what you do in life, whether it's good or bad. It doesn't matter if it's making a cup of tea or going for a walk down the road with a dog or whatever it is. Everything starts in the mind. Mm-hmm. And I tell you what, here's a good bit of advice for anyone. If I'm ever going to give anyone any advice, it's this. I mean, I ain't a prophet or out like that, but it's common sense. And for me, if you convince yourself you're fat, even when you're losing weight, mentally you're still a fatter, and you will be fat again. And I used to be like that.
Yeah.
And I can remember conversations with people still to this day when I can remember a few years back, I went down to about 17.5 stone. I think it was when Leicester won the Premier League, so that's 2016.
Gosh, is that long ago now?
I know, yes, 7 years now. No, 6 years, just gone. Unbelievable. I can always remember having a conversation with someone. It's always stuck in my mind, and we're on about something. And I said, well, I know, I'll always be a fatter. That's the worst thing you can do.
Absolutely.
In there. So I start saying that I'm Sylvester Stallone from 1983 now, during the Rocky films. I don't really. I don't want to be like him.
What's her name? What is it? He shouts out.
There's Mick as well, isn't there? His trainer.
Oh, I can't remember.
Adrian.
Mick.
You gotta work, Rocky. You gotta work.
It's about the best impression I do, to be honest with you. Your other half's laughing his bits and bobs off in that office, I'm telling you.
You gotta work.
Yeah. But you have got to work. And the thing is, Sarah, when you are at a certain weight, if you're unfortunate enough to weigh as much as, I know there's people that weigh 30, 40, 50, 60 bloody stone. It's a nasty place to be at, but it can feel like an unbelievably mammoth task. But the good news is, if you just keep doing it, you ain't got to go, all out with it. Just be comfortable. Just do a bit of exercise here and there, walk around the block, alter your diet a little bit here, probably eat a burger, but don't go mad with it.
Yeah.
The little changes, they don't half help.
Do you know what? It's the small changes that make the biggest difference, and if you do them gradually and you embed those small changes on a regular basis, it will build up. It's like the proverbial stone gathering moss as it's going downhill. It builds up and it builds up and it builds up and it gets bigger and it gets bigger. So you can, whatever it is you're doing, you'll get stronger and it improves. And it's muscle memory as well. I mean, you're talking about mindset and the stories that you tell yourself. And actually, if you start to tell yourself a story, even if you don't believe it, to start with, you change the dialogue you have with yourself. You change the script. You change the programming of your brain.
Yeah.
And you start to, every time you hear yourself going, oh, I'll always be a fatty, you go, actually, up until now I've always been, but now I am, and from this day forth, and I am the size I am, and I love myself, and it's about loving yourself, being accepting of yourself, and as you do that and change those habits, it all unfolds in front of you.
And and like you say, and you're right, and I don't think like that anymore. I just I just get up every day. I do what I do. I don't run every day. I mean, I've got a bit of a, what's that condition called in your heel? Plantar, they call it.
Oh, the plantar fasciitis.
That's it, plantar fasciitis.
Not the Achilles,
yeah.
not an Achilles heel or Achilles.
No,
I can never say
I
Achilles.
played football the other night, and I went for a run the next morning, and I was really feeling it. So I've not been out today. So I don't race myself. I don't. I go at my own pace. Sometimes I run really quick. Some mornings I'm out and I feel low on energy, or for whatever reason, it's that's life, isn't it? But ultimately, I enjoy it, and it's become a habit. And this is the great thing for anybody. When you're stuck in that rut and you're overweight and you're eating too much, blah blah blah, that's a bad habit. If you repetitively start introducing good things into your life, good habits, they become a habit. It's like now.
Yeah.
If you'd have told me a few years back I'd be doing all this running, no. It's not happening. What are you talking about? I ain't good. I don't like running, only if there's a ball or something involved.
Yeah, because you
And
used to play football.
Yeah, and I was too fat anyway, so I weren't interested in it. But I think I said this when we did the last recording. I got into running totally by accident as well, because I was power walking.
Yeah.
And it absolutely hammered it down one night. And I'm not talking about Little Rain. I'm talking about proper Steve Picker 3 years ago, fat rain. It was massive fat rain. And honestly, the rain was that bad, I couldn't breathe.
Oh,
I got to have my
God.
face in my jacket to breathe. It was just
Grief,
screaming.
just absolutely coming in.
And
yeah.
I stood up against this gable end of this house, sheltering myself from it, because it was windy and all. And I thought, God, I'm freezing. Absolutely freezing. I thought, I've got to get home. So I thought, I'll try and jog home, because I was desperate to get in the shower, to be honest with you.
Are you having a shower on your way back?
Well,
weren't
yeah,
you?
cold bloody shower and all. But I was desperate for a warm shower and get the old imperial leather out and whatnot.
Hey.
And I got home, and I started running a bit quicker. And I thought, Jesus Christ, my moobs ain't knocking me out no more.
Well, hey.
It's easier.
Yeah,
I'm not going to say running's easy, but bearing in mind, this is from someone who, even when I was fat, used to walk fast everywhere.
Right. Yeah.
So I was doing these 4.5 mile power walks once, sometimes twice a day, over a year ago. And I ran home, and it was roughly 2 miles from where I started. And that includes a hill like that goes up near my house called Standard Hill.
At this point, I'd like to point out that Steve's putting his arm at a diagonal to me, which obviously you can't see.
Yeah, that's around about a 1 in 20, I'd
Right,
say.
okay.
1 in 21, something like that. Look at me, Isambard Kingdom, Brunel.
Oh, well,
not.
yes.
I know, yeah.
Google that word.
Yeah, Google that. But yeah, so I ran home, and I can remember running in the house, absolutely soaked to the bone. And I think Vanessa said, you look happy, or something like that. She said, I can't believe it. I've just ran 2 miles.
That's amazing, Steve. It's amazing.
Obviously walking fast everywhere, it built a fitness up. And at that point, I was actually just under 19.5 stone. So I started running every day.
Yeah.
And after 2 miles, I was absolutely cream crackered. But then I started building it up. And I thought, it's good this is. I like it. Can't believe I didn't do this years ago. Why didn't I can't believe I didn't do it. I've let my son down not doing it.
But you're doing it.
Yeah, that's it. And there's no better time than now. You can't. I mean, listen, I've lived in the past before and thought, I wish I'd have done that when I was 25. Unless you've got a Dot Brown and a flux capacitor in your car.
We're talking Back to the Future, aren't we?
Yes. 0.21 gigawatts. Yes. Unless you've got one of them, we're not going back. So you can't. All we can do is move forward.
Absolutely.
And carry on. We can't go back.
No, exactly. You can't live in the future. You've got to live in the present. And at the present moment is the time you can do anything.
That's all there is.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's all we've got.
The past can sort of form where you are today, but we don't need to drag that with you. It's like sort of suggesting that you carry around all your clothes that you've ever had forever and a day in a suitcase. You just wouldn't do it, would you? So you don't need to carry whatever it was you made a decision about yesterday. You can let go of that. You can move forward with, a freshness and a fresh step. At 5 o'clock in the morning, like when you get up and go running.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, not always that early, but it's normally between then and 5:30. Well, to be fair, I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, in the winters they were difficult.
Oh,
when I started even with the power walking before the running, I was going out and doing that, and it was so cold sometimes. I'd been out in the snow when it's a couple of inches deep and your feet are soaking.
What motivated you? What really drove you? What was driving you to do that when you did do that?
Mainly getting a bit older. I mean, I'm not old yet, but I'm not 21 no more, and in 2.5 years I'll be 40. And I didn't want to get to 40 and be that. But long story short, I think I told you this on the last podcast. I lost my mum in November last year, and my mum, she was a great woman. I loved her immensely, and I miss her to bits now. But she never did herself any favours when it came to her health. Now, she was an attractive woman, my mum was, when she was younger. And when she got to late 40s, 50s, she started not moving about so much. She'd start doing these bloody stupid diets and God knows what. And, you know, a little while back, last year actually, I think I said to her, just start going for a walk. Yeah, well, it's easy for you to say, I'm 62 now, or whatever it was at the time, 61. And I said to Vanessa one day, I said, I don't want to be like that when I'm in my early 60s. I want to feel like a kid still. I mean, you're older, yeah, but you're still the same person.
Oh, absolutely.
Doesn't matter if you got a few more wrinkles or whatever. You're still the same. Well, I like to think you are anyway.
Well, yeah, I can testify for that. I should be 57 this year, Steve, and absolutely growing old disgracefully.
Well, that's where it's at, growing old disgracefully. Yeah, exactly. You know, bring it on. But you know, when she passed away, I said to Vanessa, I said, she never did it in her life. Well, I'm going to do it for her and for myself.
Yeah,
and and that's when the trail running started. And that's when Rob pretty much got hold of me, I think. I think it was right. Anyway, he'll know if he's listening. And he invited me out, and I thought, yeah, I'm going to do this trail running, sod it. I was daunted by it because I was expecting to turn up and there be a load of really fit people there, which there was. I mean, Rob's a very fit bloke. Shouldn't keep saying this stuff, should we really? 'Cause I don't know if his head's going to get bigger or his ponytail's going to get bigger.
His ponytail will get longer.
But, you know, bless him. I mean, I went out with him and, you know, me and him kept getting a rollicking off someone because we were always out at the front. And I thought, well, I quite like this. It's not as hard as I thought it was going to be. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying, you know, go and get your trainers on, anyone listening, and go for a 10-mile run round the block. It ain't that easy. But do you know what I'm saying? Because...
But it's great, isn't it? When you are actually... I mean, I've only really been doing trail running myself in the last 18 months. And I'd been doing the tarmac slapping myself for years and years and years, just literally doing the same loop round the village, because I've always liked just leaving the house, doing the exercise, coming back, having a shower, job done. But once I got introduced to trail running, I mean, it's just so different because you're getting out, you're fresh air, exercise, you're going into the countryside, you're going through woodland, you're seeing parts of your locality that you've never seen before. And it's a stop-start thing with trail running as well. That's what I like. In fact, I have to say my trail running is a little bit trail running, stop, take some photos, jump over a stile, gather my breath, do a bit more running. So it's not like a flat-out run. It's going out, but covering more territory than you would do if you're just walking.
Yeah, but that's the thing though, Sarah. Everybody's got their own way of doing things. You see, I was under this misapprehension when I was younger as well that running was a race. I don't know why. I think there's a bit of a false identity with running because, like you've just said, you ain't got to go and sprint 25,000 miles. You can just go at your own pace, take a few pics of the landscape when you're out, and don't get me wrong, I still do a bit of tarmac slapping.
Yeah.
When it's absolutely filthy down the fields and you're slipping about everywhere and you've got about 25 stones worth of mud on each trainer. When you're on your own, that is tough motivate. I do that actually sometimes. I do it, but sometimes, like, you know, the other morning we had a load of rain. Thursday morning, I thought, well, I'm just gonna go for a run on the tarmac. So what Mr. Beers says.
Yes.
I'm going to go and tarmac slap.
Well, exactly like Gareth and I did yesterday. We tarmac slap because it was a time thing. Yeah. You know, we were supposed to be going out with Rob. He'd got other commitments and said, let's just go and get a quick run out of the way, which we did. And we're off trail running tonight. So we'll be park running tomorrow. And as you say, it's just about movement, really. It's not. And I think when you're kids, you run naturally, don't you?
Yeah,
as a child, you don't think, I'm walking or I'm running. You just run. But I don't know what happens when you sort of reach teens stroke adulthood. When do you stop running? What is it that suddenly triggers that?
It's an interesting question. Yeah, I've never really thought of that. Yeah, that's a good point. I think when you get a bit older...
Are you supposed to get sensible? Is that what it is? And running is associated with playing?
You get complacent. I mean, I'll tell you right now, I feel 17, 15 again.
Hey.
Yeah, but I really do. And this is the thing. I don't know what it is in this system we live in, but, you know, they're trying to take the fun out of everything, aren't they? You know, and I think we've got that sucked into... I mean, we all do it. I do it. You probably do it. We get sucked into social media sometimes and all that, but that's where it's at, out there. Nature.
Oh, 100%.
Out there, there's no lie. Nature don't tell no fibs. You go out there, and that's why, like you said earlier, that's why you enjoy getting your trainers on with Gareth or Rob or whoever you're going with, and you're going out there running through the fields and the woods, because that's where we belong. It's nature.
Yeah,
You know,
and we're part of nature. We're not.
We are.
We aren't
yes.
technology, but the more we spend on time spent on it and trying to sort of replicate and have surgery to look like somebody else, you become sort of a caricature. And
well, there's the thing. They kind of want you in home sitting on your bum all the while because they want you on the blooming pharmaceuticals and stuck on them all your life.
Exactly.
And eating rubbish food, so you're always ill and and taking pharmaceuticals. We're going down a totally different path
We
there,
are,
aren't we?
but you're absolutely right. I mean,
yeah.
If we keep on being, if we tune into and feed into all the stuff that's fed to us, that's all to do with fear factor, paralysing you, making you not want to move, then you then have to have the tablets to keep you surviving, then you're eating the junk because you're having it delivered, and you aren't living. And it's about living, it is about embracing. The perfection is in the imperfection.
Yeah.
It's progress over perfection every time. It's about just do stuff, because it's through the bumps in the road. It's through the stuff that you do wrong. It's where all the learning is. It's about moving. It's about, even if it is your case of just you walking out and aside and round the house, just to break it up. But, the fears in your head, yes, of course there are dangers in the world, but there's far more good in the world than there is bad. But we're led to believe there's so much more bad than there is good.
Well,
and we have to just, see and be happy and be grateful for what we've got as well. Because the more your gratitude you show, more appreciation you show for what you have, the more of it you will get. But if you spend time in a negative frame of mind, you will just attract more of the same.
Exactly, and like you say, yes, there are plenty of dangers out there in the world, but there's also plenty of dangers sitting in your living room all the while eating junk food and watching bloody crap television.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you're going to get fat and be unhappy. And that was the other thing, when you said earlier, what inspired you. Well, I'm quite a deep thinking person. I am very deep thinker, and about various different things. And one thing that really bothered me, as morbid as it sounds, I didn't want to be fortunate enough to live old being a fatty, but then be on my deathbed and look back and think, yes, I've lived till I was 85, but I didn't enjoy it.
Yeah.
I didn't do, but at least I can say now, if I get there, if I'm lucky enough to get there, I started sorting it out, and I'm not completely where I want to be at yet, but I'm on my way there.
Yeah, no, you do. I think you're doing, bloody hell, you're doing
like I always
great.
say, I'm
Yeah.
not there yet, but I'm closer than I was yesterday.
Absolutely. And it is about the journey. It's not about the destination at all. It's about the experiences you have along the way. I mean, God, there's loads of things I would love to have and be doing, but actually, I really recognise and embrace all the stuff and the opportunities that I'm having in the here and now. And every so often I'll have a kind of oh my God, right, okay, what do I need to do now? But I stay with that positive mindset. I stay with that positive focus. I don't dwell upon anything. I don't sort of procrastinate. I just crack on, because you can become paralysed if you start to examine stuff and really puzzle over it before you make a decision. I just sort of get on and do things myself. And sometimes it might be a case of actually, we're saying about saying yes and no to things. Sometimes it is important to actually say, do you know what? No, this isn't for me for today. But invariably, I'm embracing things, and I have to stop the shiny object syndrome, because I quite easily get excited. And it's like this conversation now. It's like it's been great. We've been chatting away, and suddenly I'm looking at the recording material, and it's like, oh my word, we're at 40 minutes already.
Really?
How did that time?
Well, that's gone quick. Yeah, it's really gone quick. That's what happens when you start chin wagging with me, I tell you.
Yeah.
Taught the back legs off a donkey. And why do we say that?
I don't know.
Who's ever taught the back legs off a donkey?
Do you ever Google, when you get these phrases sometimes come into your head, do you ever jump on and Google and go, where's that come from? I Googled tenterhooks. I'm thinking, where does tenterhooks come from?
I know, yeah, I did look that up.
Well, I didn't know. I thought it was tenterhooks.
Yeah,
it's not.
a lot of people do.
It's tenter hooks.
It is.
And they're the hooks that fabric was dried out on. There's like four corners, aren't there? So, and it pulls it straight and
I think
tightens
fish
it.
as well, for drying fish. I think they were on tenterhooks as well.
Oh, really?
I think they were. Yeah, how we got...
I don't know.
From culverts to drying fish.
Drying fish. And on that note, I mean, I was going to ask you what makes you a happy person. Well, it's finding the humour in things for me.
It is. The problem is, Sarah, people, including myself, back, not all that long ago, people are frit to death. There's another one for you, frit. Frightened. People are frit to death of just living and just doing things. And we're all scared to death of failure. I've been there. I ain't too bothered anymore, to be honest with you, but we're frightened to death of failure. And it's like with me, I've had that many failed attempts at trying to lose weight, but it wasn't really failure because it's brought me to where now.
Absolutely.
It's brought me to where, not getting off your arse and doing it's the failure. If you're going to get up and do it, all right, you might want to lose 2 stone and put it back on again. But it's about never giving in.
Exactly.
And I never really I've never been one to bloody give myself a pat on the back. I ain't about that. I ain't been brought up like that.
It is good to celebrate your successes, but I do hear what you're saying. I'm a little bit like that myself. I'm rather hard on myself, but
I don't find it hard to believe because I've had to put the hard work in. And listen, I don't care who it is, absolutely anybody can do what I've done. Mm-hmm. And I ain't, like I say, I'm not there yet, but I'm closer than I was yesterday. And it's just say yes to life.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Not to anything, like I say, like we said earlier, you might end up, when you're getting those silly emails about Russian wives and things, you don't want one of them, do you? And what have you? But
mind you, some of them are quite tall and willowy, aren't they? Yeah.
Well, I'm quite tall.
Well, there you go.
I'm
then
blonde.
I don't think Vanessa would be very impressed.
No, but yeah, it's embrace life and say yes to it because we don't know if there's an afterlife. All we know is the now.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Isn't it? That's all we know.
Although I do believe personally that we're spirit having a human experience and what we learn in this lifetime helps us progress forward. And I think the more we can learn now, we won't have to come back and learn it again. So that's one of my motivators is I'm going to learn it this time around. So I ain't going to learn it again. I don't want to come back and do it again.
Yeah, but that's the beauty of life. We don't know.
No.
We don't know what happens after or anything. Does anything happen? I'm very open-minded. That's a whole new...
That needs another 40 minutes.
That needs about another 40 weeks, I think. That one does. Do you know what I mean?
But yeah. It's as you said, though, it's about embracing life, being in the now, enjoying it, and looking for all the good stuff. Not because what you focus in on is what you get back. So
100%.
Exactly.
100%. It's like if you're going to be bad all your life, you'll get bad. If you start doing more good, you'll get good. I tell you what I didn't do whilst we were doing this. I didn't really plug my channel that much, did I?
Come on,
really?
then. Plug it. Yeah, How do people find you, Steve? How do people find you?
Well, I'm not going to give them my address, Sarah, but I will give you my YouTube channel. So, yeah.
You mean you don't want any stalkers? No.
No, we don't want none of those. No.
Friend.
Yeah. Friend, yeah. Yeah, all right. Don't you start as well. So, yeah, anyway, so you can find me at Less Explore, and that is LEICE, Explore, all one word. Less Explorers in Leicestershire, so
yes,
LEICE Explore. I'd say it again because I just thought.
Is it two E's together?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, so we had this discussion.
Yeah, we used to have an S after the last E before Explore, but it said something else, so I had to get rid of it. I had to drop it. If you know what I'm saying, I'll let the audience work that out. I'm not going to go into it on here. I'm not. But yeah, if you fancy coming out for a gallivant with me on YouTube, then that's where you'll find me sticking my nose in somewhere.
Brilliant.
Where it shouldn't be sometimes. I do get permission now and again, but
Yes, but you go out exploring, and is it predominantly in Leicestershire then, or
all over the shop?
All over. Oh wow.
I mean, with what I do, you're only limited to so much that you can see, aren't you? Mm-hmm. So
yes, yeah.
I'll have to see what's in Keyworth, won't I? I'll have to get on the old maps.
Yeah, well, our friend Rob.
yeah. I've been saying to him, you'll have to come out on a video with me. Yes,
he will. He'll have to go and do some culvert stuff with you.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Anyway, we are recording this on a Friday afternoon, so whatever time it is that you are listening to there, I'm beginning to trip up on my words. It's been a long week. But thank you so much, Steve, for coming over, because as I said, and we've already highlighted, we did record this once before, but the tech on my side failed. So Steve has very kindly come over to my house, and we've done this in person. So thank you so much for taking the time to come
Absolute pleasure.
And record this episode in person. Obviously, people know how to get hold of you now on Let's Explore on YouTube. So do follow Steve. Please do subscribe to his YouTube channel. Let's get his figures up from 1,000 to 2,000 over the next few weeks.
Yeah, it'd be nice.
Which will be great. And thank you for listening to this episode. So this has been Sarah J Naylor at Harnessing Happiness. And if you've enjoyed this podcast, this episode, please do subscribe and follow and comment as well. We'd love to hear your comments. And it's fabulous that you're listening all over the world. And if you have any fancy culverts, please do get in touch and let Steve know where he needs to come and film a YouTube.
Send me your culverts, yeah.
And send him your culvert pictures and he'll be there. So again, thank you very much. I'm delighted that you've listened and you've enjoyed this episode. And until next time, take care. Have a great day, week, month, year, to whatever it is you listen again. Take care. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thanks for listening to the Harnessing Happiness podcast with Sarah J Naylor. If you took value from the content, please follow the show on your podcast app. And to find out more about Sarah's ape mindset, visit sarahjnaylor.com. That's